We are here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, getting ready for the UFC's debut in the city at the Scotiabank Centre, happening Saturday night. Rory McDonald taking on Tarek Saffiedine. Very pressing question, Tom, as a man with expertise in the field. Long-term viability of the Toronto Argonauts in the city. What is your take here?
Oh, geez, I wasn't expecting that question from you, John.
You got to throw the curveballs right away.
I will tell you that the Toronto Argonauts will continue their long-standing tradition of being one of the oldest franchises in professional sports in the world. They will sort out where they're going to go. If it's not BMO Field, they'll figure it out. And the Canadian Football League will continue to have the Toronto Argonauts as one of their most important franchises.
Your old post is going to be vacated soon. Mark Cohan stepping down.
Yeah, well, listen, I think Mark's done a great job. Canadian Football League is in a better place than it was certainly when I started, and he's actually taken it even further when I completed my tenure. So I'm looking forward to see who replaces Mark. I think it's a great opportunity for somebody who loves sport and who loves building brands and loves building businesses and has a passion for what makes Canada terrific.
Well, we'll move it over to fighting before people yell at me for asking football questions here on the Fight Network. But
you're not going to ask me hockey questions, are you?
Oh, we might get around to hockey. Okay. Who knows?
Let's talk the UFC here in Halifax.
Well, first of all, where on the scale? I mean, Halifax. We're going to have a sold-out venue on Saturday night. Certainly a lot of demand here for the UFC to come to Halifax. Was this one of those top-tier cities? I know you're not going to rank your favorite Canadian cities you want to hit, but I imagine Halifax was in the conversation right from the get-go to get here.
It's always been on my radar, ever since I took the job back in May of 2010. We always talked about how we wanted to take our sport and our athletes and our brand to all parts of Canada, and you really haven't done that until you've come to Atlantic Canada, and this year we're going to be going coast to coast from Vancouver to in June to here in Halifax, and this is a great sports city. It's a great university town. It's got great sense of community. The Scotiabank Centre has been host to many world-class events, and it's going to be a loud joint on Saturday night.
Dana White had recently stated they're looking at 4 to 5 Canadian dates in 2015. Will Toronto and Montreal be part of those events? Has that been finalized as of yet?
Hasn't been finalized, but if I was a betting man, Toronto and Montreal will be on that list, and some other places that we've never been before. So that's what's exciting about when you've got a sport like ours, that you can take it to different communities that have never had the chance to witness what great athletes can do when they're provided that opportunity. Being here in Nova Scotia and Halifax for the first time is something like that. Last year it was the first time we'd ever been to Winnipeg. The year before that was the first time we'd ever been to Calgary. And those are the kinds of things that are really important when you're trying to build a sport across the country.
What was the exact reasoning for the Toronto and Montreal not getting shows in 2014?
Well, various things. We've, in terms of Toronto, it was all about, where was that mega super fight being going to be held? The John Jones versus Alex Gustafsson rematch, the rematch of UFC 152, which was a incredible fight. Where was it going to be held? And when that fight came along, the decision was made that there aren't that many true super fights that come along, and that's one of them. And so the notion was, if it's going to be a true super fight, which I agree it is, or was going to be, take it to the fight capital of the world, which is Las Vegas. And I think that's one of the things you have to be when you're in this kind of sport. You have to be nimble, you have to be flexible, you have to recognize when there's certain things that happen that you need to adjust. And so the decision was made to move it to Vegas, and I supported that decision because at the time it was the right thing to do. Then, of course, what happens after that is fighter injuries occur, and all of a sudden the card changes. But the horse was out of the barn and down the lane by then. So you can't sort of come back and return it to Toronto because the card shifts. So that was why Toronto card moved on. And the Montreal date was always going to be towards the end of this year or the beginning of next. And I think you'll probably find that it'll become the beginning of next.
We also look ahead to the card, and a kind of interesting local story is Chris Kalidas, who is taking this fight on 5 days' notice. He will step into the octagon, taking on Paddy Houlihan. And this is a guy who, talking to him this week, he had bought tickets for this event. event. He was going to be in the stands, and now will be competing on Saturday. It seems like a great local story, and kind of just a guy that was hoping to get his shot in the UFC, and this is really his opportunity. It's quite the local angle here of, fighter slash fan turned UFC fighter on Saturday night.
Yeah, listen, it is a great story, because literally on Sunday he was going to be a fan on Saturday night, and on Monday now he's going to be putting some gloves on and having his debut against a tough fighter from Ireland. So I think that's one of the great things about our sport, is that you can provide opportunities for athletes who have always coveted this kind of a chance, who have worked very, very hard. He trains with TJ Grant, and he's been very, very focused. It's always been his dream. But if he didn't get on this card, he'd want to get on the next card. So I think it's great that Sean Shelby was able to fill that injury vacancy with a guy with local talent and local with a local feel.
Have you spoken recently to TJ Grant and how he's doing? Obviously, people very concerned now the length of time, and when you're talking about concussions, that's obviously something you can't rush back from.
Yeah. When I was here a couple of months ago for the on-sale press conference, TJ came out and had a quick chat with him about that. He's still thinking long term that he's going to be able to participate, and as you would expect and as you would want, his first choice is to make sure that he's healthy, and he's thinking that way. So, you know what? I'm confident that the right things will happen for TJ, and his focus and his attention to not only his health but his family will work out well, and hopefully we'll see him in the octagon sometime.
You did mention hockey, so you brought it up, and obviously with the NHL about to kick off, massive deal with Sportsnet. From the fight fans' perspective, the obvious question is, how does this impact the UFC? Is there a long-term future with Sportsnet, and how does that NHL deal affect the UFC's programming?
We're in the process of our broadcast agreement with Sportsnet expires at the end of this year. So we've been in discussions with Sportsnet and other Canadian broadcasters as to where our content will live going forward, and we haven't finalized anything. It'll probably be finalized in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and once it's finalized, be happy to let you know.
Okay, well, there you go. Tom Wright. Always appreciate the time. We appreciate all of you for tuning in as well, and we are going to be seeing the UFC make their debut Saturday night at the Scotiabank Centre in Halifax, Nova Scotia, headlined by a 5-round welterweight bout, Tarek Saffiedine taking on Roy McDonald.